Hey there, everybody. Hello and welcome to Relaxed Mel. I am standing in the abandoned gym of the Pottsville High School, located in Pottsville, Texas. Now, why am I standing in a rundown basketball gym? Well, there's a reason behind that, and that's what I'd like to talk to you about this week. Hey there, everybody. Hello and welcome to Relaxed Mel. All right, so we're in the abandoned gym, and right next door to it is the abandoned school, and I'll be showing you through some of the sights of it also. What does this have to do with you? A lot, really. What makes an abandoned building an abandoned building? Well, that would be no people. And what happens to a building when it doesn't have anybody living in it? Well, in all reality, it acts like a person itself. It starts to kind of become decrepit and decays and falls in on itself. You start developing weaknesses in the walls, and the ceiling comes in, and eventually you've got just the foundation, and the foundation often will, from time to time, will just give in. And if the foundation gives in, then the whole building falls over, and there's a whole lot of downfall. All of a sudden, you start getting busted windows, and your ceiling and the roof starts to leak, which then breaks down the ceiling, and everything starts to fall down, and your paint starts to peel, and everything starts to look ratty. And the rattier it looks, the less time people want to spend with it, and the less time people want to spend with it means that the more dilapidated it becomes. You start getting holes in the floor. You start getting, everything starts falling apart. You start getting places where you don't really want to tread because you don't know if that material is going to hold you. Is that floor still strong enough to hold you? Not having people in your life, and a lot of people these days want to embrace their whole inner. A lot of people want to embrace their inner introvert, and you see people saying, they've got shirts that say, I used to be a people person, but people ruined it. A lot of today's society is becoming a lot more standoffish to other people, and that's a big problem because you need to have the connection, the interlinking of people and communities and family and friends and everything else that goes together with that. Yeah, it's good to have a good friend or a close friend and a best friend. It's good to have a good friend and a close friend, your best friends and all this other stuff, but it's not just those people who are closest to you. It's those people who are close to you but not as close. They're the co-workers. They're the neighbors on your street, the neighbors in your neighborhood. They're the neighbors in the people who are also in your town. Everybody needs everybody else. We are a tribal, we have a herd mentality in a way. Look at how kids in college act when all of a sudden they don't get something they don't like. They blow their mind and they're screaming and hollering and throwing a fit and they're rolling cars over when they win a basketball tournament. There's just so much that happens when a hive mind clicks in. That is an example. Now those examples are examples of a hive or a herd mentality going wrong. But there are also hive and herd mentalities that show up and are actually a good thing. Good example is after the tornadoes that we've been having in Oklahoma. They get out and they start searching for to see if there's anybody that's hurt, and they start looking through the rubble and they start helping each other clean up that neighborhood. even if they may have had a squabble and they've been butting heads, you got the neighbor who's fighting over whose tree's roots are in their yard, and things like that. Something happens, something of a tragedy or a problem happens, that community comes together. They forget their differences. A great example is America after what happened to America after 9/11. After we had lost the World Trade Centers, it didn't matter what your politics was. It didn't matter what your belief system was. You came together. We bonded. We became stronger because we were a community again. We all got our eye blackened that day. And then after the short time after that, several months from there, we started to drift away from that community, and all of a sudden we started branching off into our little smaller parts, because to be that comfortable, you have to kind of do some stuff to be that close together, you have to do some stuff that's actually kind of uncomfortable. You have to, you hear some stuff that you may not agree with, and so you may end up, you're going to branch off and you start grouping with people who do agree with you. But what happens is when you break apart and you start fanning out and people start coming in smaller and smaller groups, which is what we've got happening right now, all of a sudden you start becoming you as yourself. If you don't have as many people influencing your life, you don't have as many interactions, your sense of self starts to become a lot more empty, as you can hear by the echo. Your experiences in life, your fulfillment in life starts to become a little more run down. All of a sudden you start getting the examples of broken windows. You start missing a window or two. You may start getting, something, you got some other problems. You've got anxiety, which would be a good equivalent to the rain dripping in through coming in through the roof. Instead of being deflected like it needs to, it starts to affect you. It starts coming in, and once that starts coming in, all of a sudden you start getting holes in the floor, and the flooring starts to kind of rot because the rain's hitting it, and it's always hitting it, and it gets really damp and wet and soggy, and then it dries out, and then it gets damp and soggy, and it dries out, and that rinse and repeat cycle that we go through, whether it's the snow that comes in or the rain or the hail and other stuff that comes in, that when wood gets wet and then it dries out and wet and dries out, it weakens the bonds of the fibers, and so the wood starts to decay and it falls apart, and then you've got weak spots in your floor.